Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the NDIS, also known as the National Disability Insurance Scheme. In this video, I hope to share with you some pros and some cons on the system itself. I have been a participant for the last 4 years, and I have definitely seen both sides. So with all that said, let's jump into this video. This is the first video that I have filmed since I got COVID a week ago. So if I still sound sniffly and a bit under the weather, that is why. So a little background before we begin. The NDIS originally launched in July of 2013 in select Australian states and territories, with a full rollout of a few months later for the rest of the country. Before I do actually begin, I do actually want to say this though. I do think in retrospect that the NDIS was actually a good idea. But in some other ways, I do not think it's a lasting idea. It will be 10 years this July since the scheme initially rolled out, and with how many participants globally, with how many participants we have Australia-wide, I do not think that the scheme could last much longer, considering there is hundreds of thousands of dollars being put in to each plan. While I do agree that there are some pros and cons, and that in some ways the NDIS is a good thing, in other respects, it isn't. It may seem like a good idea on paper, but whether or not it's actually been properly utilized is a different story. So with all that said, let's actually jump into some pros and some cons in no particular order. One of the pros I think that is a good thing is that the NDIS does actually cover your assistive technology. So think your wheelchairs, your splints, for instance, my hand splint, my walking sticks, my shower chairs, all that sort of assistive technology, as well as say you need one of the participants that I know of was able to get an iPad through the NDIS for his speech therapy and a couple of other things that he needed. So that is just an example of how the NDIS actually can help. Also, one of the things that I should actually mention is that if your wheelchairs actually need to be repaired, doesn't matter if it's a minor repair or the full yearly service, which I need to book in soon myself, that is actually also covered by the NDIS. But in saying that, not everything is actually covered under the NDIS. But another pro is it actually helps you experience new things. I was with a disability service here in Sydney for 4 years before I left in December of last year. In that regard, the NDIS has actually been good for me. I learnt to cook. I learnt to sew. I got to meet some beautiful people along the way. And I was given opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise. It widened my skill range. And through working with physios and occupational therapists, I was able not just to get the technology that I needed, but also assistance with going to the pool, with hiring support workers to come with me instead of relying solely on my family. These are positive experiences. So let's talk about a couple of cons that actually do come with the NDIS. One of the things that I think is a con in the system is that there are infrequent check-ins with your LAC, your local area coordinator, to actually see how things are going. So how an LAC would work is they would help you build the plan, then send it off. Then they would actually technically still be your case manager, but with how many you would probably go through, you don't have one consistent person looking after it. So one person may build the plan with you, send it off to the NDIS, but as what did happen with this planning cycle is that your LAC will change. Well, for me, anyway. So there you have it. There are some pros and some cons about the NDIS system here within Australia. I will say this. I think Australia has it better than, say, the US does when it does actually come to people and disabilities. Like I said, the NDIS isn't perfect, but at least we have more services than say the US does when it comes to actually helping with disability. Yes, things still do cost an arm and a leg, and that is actually another con, because when you mention disability, the price goes way up. And I just wish the infrastructures that actually support it are a lot better. I do actually think there are a lot of improvements that can happen. So even though it's still probably in its infancy after 10 years, it still has potential to actually go somewhere if only they were more willing to listen to their participants. So that's it for today's video. The video I am actually going to be linking for you today is the video on why I turned my job offer down. Depending on where you are in the world, I hope you are having a great day or night, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.